Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, March 3rd, episode 128. Let's get started with our tip-off topics, leading off with, they finally shut him down. Philadelphia 76ers superstar center Joel Embiid has been shut down for the rest of the season after missing 39 out of 58 games this year. And it's something that I said on this podcast a couple of weeks ago that they needed to shut him down. And the problem with the Philadelphia 76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg, and he still went to the Olympics? Really put his team behind the eight ball for a Philadelphia 76ers team that is tremendously underachieving. You look at their record. I mean, folks, if I'm not mistaken, the Brooklyn Nets, like the Nets have one more loss. They got the same record. You get where I'm going with this. 21-38 for a team that we really thought was going to be contenders in the Eastern Conference. And now it sets up a spot for what is going to happen with Philadelphia. They're going to have to make a lot of critical decisions with Joel Embiid. The contract of Paul George is absolutely atrocious. You got guys that are up there in age like Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry. But you have a superstar player in Tyrese Maxey. So what happens here? Is Nick Nurse in trouble? Is Daryl Morey in trouble? Is Joel Embiid a member of the 76ers? A lot of questions got to be answered in Philadelphia, but the main one is Joel Embiid is out for the year, and let's be honest, it was the right call. Speaking of Joel Embiid, remember, I think it was game 3 or game 4? Against the Knicks, pulled down in the leg. Well, guess who's back? Mitchell Robinson finally made his return for the New York Knicks over the weekend when the New York Knicks had really two incredible comebacks, you would say, both against Memphis on Friday night on the road and then obviously last night versus the Miami Heat. And you look at Mitchell Robinson, listen, he's only played 12 and 13 minutes, right? But this is what he does, okay? He's going to get rebounds. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to see Tibbs slowly ramp up the minutes and then try to find spots where he could play him at the 5, Cat at the 4. When you watch the Knicks play, their defense is going to get better with teams that run pick and roll. Mitchell Robinson is good at switching out and contesting threes, but he's good at playing drop coverage. So if he plays drop coverage and protects the paint, now you can't get guys coming to help for kick-out threes. So what you should start to notice is do the Knicks start to defend the three-point line better because of this? Look at Memphis, first game, 4 for 31 from 3 Memphis shot against the Knicks, obviously with the partling of Mitchell Robinson. I know that he only played 12 or so minutes. So that's something to take a look at. Miami shot 31.5% from 3. So if you're holding teams under 33% from 3, that's really good. Mitchell Robinson is a sneaky good basketball player because of his drop coverage, because of his rim protection, right? But also when he gets going, it's his ability to create second chances. Look, in Miami, it was the 13-point, one of the biggest plays of the game. Shot goes up, offensive rebound by Mitchell Robinson, kick out, ends up with a 3-pointer by OG Anunoby, top of the key. He's going to give you extra possessions offensively, and he's going to take away stuff from you defensively. Mitchell Robinson is back for the Knicks. We will talk a little bit about the Knicks because it's a sneaky good bet that I think you may want to check out on FanDuel that is plus money. Let's go to the college game where it's best to just kind of recap what happened over the weekend, particularly with the top teams, meaning obviously starting with the SEC. Auburn goes on the road and just thumps Kentucky. And this team is really playing at such an elite level right now. It's really hard to look at a team and say who is playing better than the Auburn Tigers. Obviously, Auburn in that 94-78 win. If you kind of look at it, Janiah Broom only gets you 9 points. But you get two other players like Baker Mazzara, 22, Kelly, 30, right? Pettiford, 21. So now you get other guys that are scoring, which does make Auburn dangerous. What a game. What a game in Knoxville. Tennessee takes out Alabama 79-76 on a huge three-pointer at the buzzer by Meshack, which is just a great win for a Tennessee team that's really tough at home. Obviously, you look at the play of Ziegler and Lanier giving you a 33 points. Sears gives you 24 for Alabama. This was a big game here because now we're talking about teams that could be fighting for a 1 seed. Florida beats A&M 89-70. You look at Buzz Williams' team. They've lost 4 games in a row. They have to get going. Vanderbilt, big win at home versus Missouri. You looked at this spot as a spot for Vanderbilt to get a win, and now they're pointing themselves towards an NCAA tournament. And obviously Duke, just absolutely rolling teams, beating Florida State 100-65. This team is playing as well as anybody in the country right now. Some other quick notes before we get to the women's basketball. You had a big win by St. John's over the weekend, not covering the spread, versus Seton Hall. You have that team now clinching a Big East regular season title, also, which was obviously a big important win. Houston winning by 9. They have a big game with Kansas tonight. Kansas is kind of fumbling. Interesting take. Bill Self kind of releasing a statement to the fans, basically apologizing and taking the hit for the team. Let's switch over to the women's game where it was if you missed out on USC's 80-67 win over UCLA, folks, you missed high level intensive basketball. Juju Watkins basically put the player of the year to bed. 10 out of 22, 30 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. And what they've done is they have found a way to slow down Lauren Betts. Second game in a row. Lauren Betts had, I think it's about a 20-point a game score. I think 13 first game, 11 this game, only 11 shots. And they continued to do a good job of defending the three-point line. They held UCLA 5 for 20 from 3. And now it sets up an interesting case where UCLA may fall off the 1 line, which is interestingly enough, after losing these 2 games, started undefeated. I told people teams were going to come back to the pack to them. It's starting to look so. So when you start looking at that women's game, right, and you start looking at the rankings, folks, listen, it is something that you may want to look at. The number 1 team in the country, I'm wearing burnt orange. Hook 'em horns. Vic Schaefer, number 1 team in the country for Texas. Hasn't been there since Jody Conrad has been the coach. You don't know Jody Conrad or Gail Gesson scored. Those are 2 legendary women's coaches. They're number 1. USC's up to number 2. UConn, who's playing as well as anybody in the country, at number 3. UCLA drops 2 spots to 4. South Carolina is at number 5. South Carolina did have a game against Kentucky. They won by 12, but it was a closer game versus Kenny Brooks and the Wildcats. Coming up next, we'll get into our award tour where I'll talk about my New York Knicks and give you a plus money bet. And then we look at teams that make the playoffs. We'll look at the Clippers. We will take a look also, then we'll get to some odds to make conference tournaments and win conference tournaments. We'll talk about all about that next on the award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to Betting Above the Rim Podcast, episode 128. And it's time to get into our award tour where we break down the futures markets in college and the NBA. And let's start in the NBA. As I was looking for and prepping for today's episode, I tried to find win totals, and I didn't. They kind of moved it a little bit, and I started to go with to win X amount of games. And one that caught my attention is the New York Knicks to win 55 plus games at +142. And you're saying, here comes coach with his Knick bias. But I want everybody to peel back and think about it right now. At one point, the Knicks have one of the hardest schedules in the NBA. They now sit at 15th. They have 22 games to go. They are 40-20. So the Knicks have to go 15-7 down the stretch of the season in order to get this. Obviously, one of the games we'll preview will be the Knicks and Golden State, which is tomorrow. But you kind of look at their schedule of who they got to play, right? They have a big, and this, what's going to really decide this, folks, to me, is this West Coast trip that they take after playing Golden State on Tuesday. They have to go play at the Lakers, at the Clippers. That's a back-to-back. It's going to be tough. Then they have to go at Sacramento, at Portland, playing better, and then at Golden State. They also have a second back-to-back where they go at San Antonio, at Charlotte, back-to-back days. There's another one, but it's at home. So the Knicks are loaded with back-to-backs, including a Philadelphia and Cleveland. And Atlanta, Boston, Atlanta, Phoenix. So why do I think the Knicks can do it? I think because they're having Mitchell Robinson back and they're healthy. If they can stay healthy, I think they go on a run here. They look good, particularly coming back. Slow starts, did not like that. But if they can find a way to go on that road trip, beat Golden State tomorrow, Tuesday, and then go on that 5-game road trip and go 3-2. They put them in a good spot there, because that puts them at 44 wins. Then you have Miami at home, should be a win. That's 45. Then San Antonio, Charlotte. San Antonio's down 46, 47. Home Washington, 48. Dallas, 49. The Knicks have a chance to get on a nice little winning streak, but they have to come out of this West Coast trip of at the Lakers, at the Clippers, at Sacramento, at Portland, at Golden State. They got to come out at 3-2. If they can win Golden State and win those 3 games, then you're looking at the Knicks at 44 wins with a little bit of an easier part of their schedule. Let's move on to one of the teams the Knicks are going to play, and that's going to be the Clippers. The Clippers right now are a -260 to make the playoffs and a +205 to miss it. So you know right then and there, I'm not taking anything on this network that's a -260. So you know where I'm going. I don't think the Clippers will make the playoffs. I know it's been a really good year. I know Ty Lue has been fantastic. But here's the key, folks. 28 losses. Golden State's got 28, playing better. Minnesota's got 29. See, we did the Phoenix last night. Sacramento, 28. Dallas, 29. I think there's a chance, folks, ready? That the Clippers don't even make the playoffs. Make the play-in. They could get to 11. I know it sounds crazy. That means Phoenix has to go on a crazy run. But it's more likely to me they're going to get 9 or 10 and they're going to miss out. If you think about all those teams I mentioned, they, besides Sacramento, they have the hardest schedule, the 8th toughest schedule the rest of the way. They'll still have to play Cleveland twice. They have to play Oklahoma City once, the Knicks twice, Memphis once, Houston once, and the Detroit team has played fantastic basketball. I know I'm taking a chance here, but because all those teams are so tight in that 28-29 loss column, I think the Clippers end up about 9-10, and they don't make the playoffs. Remember, folks, when you place these bets, these are based on teams to make the final 8. There are different ones that you could take for them to make the play-in. That's obviously a big minus money play, and it's not something that should be on your card. Let's head to the college game where conference tournaments are about to start. March Madness is starting, so I want to go Horizon League. What? Coach talking to Horizon League? Yeah, I know a little bit about the Horizon League and one team and one coach in particular. Right now, Robert Morris, a.k.a. Bobby Mo, is the leader in the clubhouse, tied with Milwaukee at +270, Cleveland State +360, Purdue Fort Wayne 6.5, Youngstown State 9.5, and Oakland at 15-1. So where am I leaning? I am leaning with Robert Morris, a team that has played really good basketball, winners of 7 straight games. Hottest team in the league, 15-5 in league. They are the number 1 seed, and you got to look at my friend Andy Toole, who's done a phenomenal job at Robert Morris. Remember, they're an NEC school. They moved up to the Horizon because they're based in Pittsburgh. It's geographically better for them, and they struggled for a couple of years. But Andy's got this team tuned out and playing really good basketball. They'll play their first game in a Horizon League tournament on Thursday. I like what I see out of this team. You start looking at this team pretty closely and know the name Cam Woods, a.k.a. Killer Cam, 14.6, 5.1, 4.7. They're playing really good basketball. I like Bobby Moe to win the Horizon. Really quick, West Coast Conference. We're going to get into it. Gonzaga minus 130, St. Mary's plus 135. And then in that league, West Coast Conference, it's everyone else. So we're going to go with the Zags. A Zags team that kind of was not playing their best basketball, starting to turn it around a little bit. Listen, Mark Few is the best in that league. There's some great coaches, including Coach Bennett at St. Mary's. But the best coach in that league is obviously Coach Mark Few. 14-4 in league. I know St. Mary's has been hot, but I got to roll with who I think is the better staff and, in my opinion, the better team. You take a look at having a guy like the transfer, Graham Ike, giving you 17 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, one of the premier big men in the league, but it's going to play the playoff Khalif Battle, the Jersey native. You know Jersey's in the building, playing better basketball at getting at 13 points per game. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report. We'll break down that Warriors-Knicks game we were just talking about. Rockets at the Pacers as a really sneaky good matchup. Thunder at Grizzlies. Thunder playing great basketball. And then we head to the college game. We have Auburn at A&M. Can this team turn it around? And BYU, Iowa State is finally healthy. We'll be back with the scouting report after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 128, and it's time to get into our scouting report where we preview the top games in the NBA and in college. And we lead off in Gotham. Here comes Steph. With a sneaky prop out there, by the way, I think Steph's about to hit a major milestone. Maybe Matt can tell me, for made threes in his career. There is a bet out on FanDuel that you can take a look at right now about when he gets this milestone three. Best odds are obviously tomorrow night at MSG, where he puts up big performances. But he's going against Jalen Brunson, who was just named Eastern Conference Player of the Week, and a New York Knicks team that's finally back up to full strength. If you look at both teams, they average about 227, 225.4, 4,000 career threes. Thanks, Matt, for telling me that. 4,000 career threes you look at for Steph Curry. So when you look at this game, folks, I think under. They're going to probably be hanging around at 225, 227 because of the fact that Golden State's so dynamic offensively, especially the fact that they've been scoring basically over 120 points per game. It's going to change. Mitchell Robinson changed this dramatically, and they're going to start to ramp this guy up. And the ability that he can protect the lane and switch out, but also not give driving lane to create open threes for others, may make this game slow down a little bit. So I'm looking at, if it's 227, 228.5, look at under that total in Warriors versus Knicks. Let's move on to the Rockets at the Pacers. 37-23 is Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets against Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. You look at the Rockets being one of the best teams against the spread so far this year. And it's a team that really has overachieved versus a team in Indiana that's going to be fighting for a chance at a number 4 seed. So when you kind of dive in and look into this matchup, Rockets are coming off a loss at Sacramento, 111-103. Pacers, 127-112 over Chicago, but they aren't really the strongest defensive team. I would be looking at the team total over for Houston. This is a team that can score. They are sneaky good offensively. I know Ime Udoka is known for his defensive prowess, but you have a team with Jalen Green getting you 21.6, Şengün getting you 19.1, and then think about this: Van Vliet 14.4, Amen Thompson 14, Dylan Brooks 13.5, Tari East 11.6, Jabari Smith 11.5, Cam Whitmore 9.1. They could score. Look for the Rockets to go over their team total versus team not scoring defensively. Let's move on. Oklahoma City versus Memphis. I'm not getting for. You think I'm gonna get in front of the Thunder right now? I mean, y'all think I'm gonna get in front of that team? The way they're playing at 49-11, playing unbelievable basketball. A team that I know they lost to Minnesota, and that was a crazy game they lost to Minnesota. You got to remember, that's 131-128. That was nuts, that game. They were up big, foot off the gas. Since then, they won all 3 games, 129-121, 135-119, 146-132, versus the Grizzlies team that's lost 3 of their last 4 games. Go ahead and give me the Oklahoma City Thunder, most likely on the money line. Let's head to the college game, but if it's more than, I say 5.5, maybe go the other way, but I would still be comfortable with Oklahoma City. Let's move on to the college game. Auburn, A&M. Listen, I love Buzz. Everybody knows how much I feel about Buzz Williams. But this team has got to play better, folks. They have lost 4 games in a row. They're not playing good basketball. And the way that Auburn won at Kentucky without Janai Broome even getting 10 points, look at Auburn to get the win and the cover, even though my buddy Kevin Walsh thinks Auburn's going to slip up at some point. I don't agree. I think they win and cover. Lastly, BYU, Iowa State. Iowa State healthy. Jones Gilbert back. I love TJ Aushenberger. Obviously, BYU is 18-11 against the spread. But on the road, it's quite different. Iowa State's going to make a charge, folks, and make a major charge, probably as a 3 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, depending on how they finish out the regular season and the Big 12 tournament. And this is a team, folks, that is battle tested. They're battle tested. I don't look at the losses at Oklahoma State and Houston. I look at that 84-67 beatdown they gave Arizona, and they're playing really good basketball. Now they got everyone back. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast on March 3rd. For everything sports gambling, go download that Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny, who does a great job with the graphics, thanks for listening, folks. And always remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.